Hi there, welcome to Island Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Taurus energy. And we're going to do this 10 card spread, and then we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives because people in their Taurus energy are kind of at different emotional maturity levels. Taurus is about the lessons that we've learned in our life. It's like the Supreme Court in our own head. We kind of have our dualistic nature of our more worldly nature, or fearful, or immature, or prideful, or lazy, or egotistical, or whatever our shadow natures could be, and we have our more high vibrational nature, and high vibe Taurus is about walking the talk, and that you are who you say you are, and at whatever emotional maturity level that you are, you're trying to kind of do the best you can in truth and love and justice and fairness and acting with character and integrity. And some people maybe never have been that kind of person. And shadowy energy can be where people try to present themselves as being like a high vibe person, but they really, it's kind of more to have that image or that status, but they still think it's just and fair to be shadowy. You know, they try to act like, oh, I've learned those lessons. Oh, no, I would never do things like that. But they didn't really learn the lesson to really within themselves say, no, that's not okay. I am not going to conduct myself like that. I am not going to act like that. Like I'd be embarrassed. I'd be ashamed of myself to act, if I'm 25 to kind of act like a 15-year-old, right? But some people, they could they could think that's what everyone does in the world, and that everyone's just kind of putting on an illusion and trying to present themselves a certain way, and that's the most important thing, is your image or your status or how people perceive you. But everybody is really more immature and shadowy and all about themselves. It's a wide spectrum. And so Taurus is about our philosophy of life, the lessons that we've learned. And sometimes we can get more mismatched relationships, whether that's in our family, in our friendships, in our jobs, in our relationship, or in our neighborhoods. And, we kind of need to listen to our intuition about who really is kind of more who they say they are. And we generally kind of like to hang out with people who've learned some of the same lessons we've learned in life. If we've kind of tempered our more egoic nature to some degree, we'd kind of like to hang out with other people who have tempered that way of being within themselves, and in a way that we could feel is more less immature or something, right? And you can have people in your life that you could think are more immature or stubborn or bossy or full of themselves or whatever. Those people in turn could have people in their life that they view that way, and those people in turn could have people in their life that they view that way. So it is kind of relative. You know you, and you also kind of know some other people, and you kind of know who they are and how they act and think or conduct themselves. So listen to your intuition as we go through this. This might be more something that could be going on in Taurus energy right now that could possibly more impact people who are a Taurus sun, moon, or rising sign, or have significant Taurus placements. But we all do tap into Taurus energy because we all have kind of this aspect within ourselves. We've done the debate within ourselves of what we think is just and fair, or right or wrong, or what we make important in our life. And so it does affect all of us. So let's go see what's going on. I view this as the overarching reason for the reading, and it's not showing itself, and it's the Seven of Swords and in reverse. Well, when a card is in reverse, it can mean extremes, kind of, in a way, like a lot. So the Seven of Swords is Aquarius energy. Some people aren't up in their head about some things anymore. Maybe because they kind of did this work within themselves with these four cards in the middle, not showing themselves. And one way a person could read this layout is that this is of a more kind of shadowy way of being in the world to some degree. this could be a more high vibrational way of being in the world. And it's kind of doing this work within ourselves to kind of, because we have this dualistic nature, to work through those issues that kind of manipulate us. Like, why don't high vibe energy is like, why over here at the end of the story is the Nine of Pentacles, which can talk about being more independent. Why do I let my fear or my insecurity or my pride or ego, my lust, my greed, other people, the world, why do I let all those things manipulate me? Well, in order to not have them manipulate you, the Nine of Pentacles and Virgo energy can talk about that you have to do this inner work within yourself to kind of deal with these things that we might not want to look at. It's shedding light on those things that manipulate us because the truth sets us free. High Vibe Virgo is about the truth. And the top card over in more like a high vibe way of reading this reading is the World card, which can talk about learning lessons in life. And, you know, you got to get out of your pride and ego, which can be our more shadowy nature, to be willing to admit that maybe I got some lessons to learn. Maybe some of those things keep me stuck. Maybe habits or vices or way of viewing myself, ways of acting or interacting with other people, you know, isn't conducive to me being more independent of my stubborn nature or prideful nature or something, more worldly nature. You know, if other people, shadowy Taurus can be that you make your life more about conforming to the world, and that can be conforming to your friend group, conforming to your family, conforming to your neighborhood, your state, your country, whatever it is, where not willing to be more independent and live your authentic truth, which is kind of high vibe Taurus and Virgo. And high vibe Taurus is like, and high vibe Aquarius is, Aquarius energy and shadow can be more caught up in the world, caught up in your head, up in the world, because it's air sign energy. I need to look like a shining star. I need people to view me a certain way. And how about we just go live our authentic life? And, you know, it's kind of shadowy energy can be getting caught up in the illusion of the world. Why don't we go live our authentic truth in love? How about we go treat other people the way we like to be treated and we don't get so caught up in our head about it? And we kind of realize that people are going to judge me more based on who they are. I mean, look at Jesus got crucified and killed, you know? People, you can get caught up in the illusion trying to get people and being all up in your head, which some people are really all up in their head because it's so, they, it can be how they define their worth and value in a more shadowy Virgo nature within themselves. Other people kind of have defined their own worth and value. And I've learned these lessons in life. And then we have the Four of Swords, which is about healing, like from past pain and heartbreak, fears, insecurities, all that. I've reflected on the truth of all those things. I've went through my life experiences. I've been more shadowy and immature at times in my life. I've dealt with other people in my life who were more shadowy and immature at times in their life, and some of those people are still that way. It's dealing with the truth of it. I'm done. The world talks about completing a cycle. I'm done reflecting on the truth of it. I have seen the truth, and the truth has set me free. And then the Queen of Pentacles. And in high vibe, the Pentacles can be truth and love and these lessons that we've learned. I shouldn't have to work so hard. The difference between the One Pentacle and the Nine of Pentacles is the Eight of Pentacles, which can be about putting in a lot of work and effort. If we're in alignment with our truth, say if we're at a job that's kind of aligned with our truth and we enjoy it, it doesn't seem like, oh my gosh, every hour at work, like I want to stab my eyeballs out, you know? Oh my God, this is like drudgery. Or being in friendships or relationships where it just seems like all this work, you know? It should, if it's aligned with your truth and you're working with other people, the Four of Swords is Libra energy, represented by the scales of justice. In High Vibe, the Queen of Pentacles, in Leo energy, they've been illuminated to the truth. It is about working together with people in a just and fair way. Hopefully, they've learned some lessons in life. They know their worth and value. Not trying to build their worth and value off of other people. Like, look, I was mean to you. Look how powerful I am. I'm going to build my ego off of feeling powerful that I was mean to other people, right? That would be a false sense of empowerment, which can be like a shadowy Queen of Wands in a way. And the Queen of Wands can talk about how we think and feel. The masculine cards can talk about the action that we're taking. There are some people in the world right now that have become independent of an old way of living life or viewing life, and then probably became independent of some people in their life, or jobs, or friendships, or relationships. The Four of Swords comes after the Three of Swords, which can be that something was kind of heartbreaking, and or our kind of our different ideas of what we thought was just and fair, and kind of what we're motivated and inspired to invest our time, energy, and effort into, and our long-term goals could be different. So, and it's just seeing the truth of it. How I want to move forward, what I think is just and fair. If I want to be in more balanced, authentic relationships where I have to be in relationships with other people who are inspired to be in more balanced and authentic relationships. I need to be in relationships with other people that have learned some of the same lessons I have learned. Because otherwise, I could be putting a lot of work and effort to try to heal other people, or you can be a just and fair and loving and encouraging person to people in your life, but they have to kind of be inspired within themselves to want to deal with the truth of some things that manipulate them. And if they're not willing to see the truth of it, well, then we are trying to keep putting in work and effort to try to like get someone to get more balance, be more just and fair, know their worth and value, love and believe in themselves. We can do that in people's life, but we might maybe stay a little more independent of them, like not get in a more involved relationship with them until they do decide in their own free will to be inspired to put in that work and effort to get more balance within themselves, be more just and fair, put some work and effort within themselves to work through some of these things that could be some people would feel if they worked through some of those things and healed from some of those things, or put some of those more immature ways of being behind them, other people would be willing to move forward with them in a relationship. But if they don't want to, right? And, again, it's just like, if I have put some old ways of being behind me, that's not my truth. At every stage of life that we've lived our life, at whatever age we were at, we thought that was just and fair. But as we go through life, we kind of learn lessons in life, and kind of what we're inspired by and to invest our time and energy and effort into can be different than what it was then, because we're not the same person that we were then. And we hopefully have healed and grown and matured ourselves in some ways. And some of those things, is just like, you could look back at any of the things you've ever done in your life that you used to enjoy as a social activity or a leisure time activity. Do you want to go back and do some of those things? No, I'm like inspired to find new things. Like, why would I keep doing the same thing over? It's kind of like mastering a level of life or a skill, and then kind of being inspired within yourself to believe in yourself that I want to learn more things, And just like we learned how to conquer, like riding a bike at one stage, do we want to maybe keep doing a bike. No, there's other things I want to learn. I want to learn more things. And fire sign can be about being curious. And in our Virgo nature, if we're someone who is kind of curious to, it's just and fair for us to keep growing and maturing ourselves and kind of freeing ourselves from old versions of ourselves, shedding old layers of ourselves. Like, I'm not going to act like a 15-year-old. I'm not going to think and act like an 18-year-old. We've done that throughout our life. And it's just and fair for us to keep doing that throughout our life. But there can be some people that they could have went through some of those stages of life just like everybody did. And part of that is because you have peer pressure from the world, Taurus energy. Even though some of those people might not have even wanted to do some of those things. They kind of could have been really influenced by the world to see the truth that they needed to put some work and effort to grow and heal and mature themselves and shed some old ways of being, right? But some people could think, when I get to a certain age and I have a job or I'm in a relationship, but I'm done. You know, I am not, because Taurus is also fixed sign energy and so is Leo. And some people, they could have a much harder time ever wanting to step out of their comfort zone. Could be people who really like to stay in their comfort zone. Some people, again, kind of more motivated, go through, it's like people who can go get jobs and they're inspired within themselves to kind of feel proud of themselves that I think I can do that. And then they do that. And then they're like, now that I know that, I'd kind of like to learn how to do that, and because I don't want to just stay. And everybody has their comfort zone and different strokes for different folks. And we need all sorts of different types of people in the world, right? But if you're someone who's more motivated and inspired to kind of face your fears as kind of high vibe energy, work through things that manipulate you, you'd probably kind of want to be in relationships with other people who are like that. If you're kind of more maintain better balance within yourself, and I view high vibe Leo as kind of like able to offer, like being your own best mother, father, coach voice to yourself, to work through some of your fears and your insecurities and self-limiting beliefs, to offer yourself love and encouragement, to believe in yourself. Virgo energy can talk about, keep putting in these steps. It might be 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 1 step forward, then maybe another step forward, then maybe a step back. But, it's always focused on, I love and believe in myself, and I don't want to repeat some poor past patterns. Because we probably already had enough experience in doing those things many times in our life. And if, it's kind of seeing the truth that if I repeat poor past patterns and I kind of indulge poor behavior in myself, there's going to be other people in the world that are going to be happy I did. Because they're just looking for someone like that to be in a relationship, or that's where they're at. And they want me to be in that energy too. But if I've already been there and done that, and there was something about it I didn't like, why would I go back and live my life like that? For me to get justice and fairness, I have to keep loving and believing in myself and keep putting in this work and effort to maintain balance within myself, not to tip out of balance and indulge poor behavior in myself or others, and keep loving and believing in myself. And high vibe Leo, kind of giving myself the things that I wish other people would have given me. Because otherwise we can be a more codependent energy, looking for other people to play that role in our life. And again, there'll be other people in the world that's like, hey, yeah, you don't know how to love and believe in yourself? Yeah, come on over here. Let's get in a relationship. Let's get married. Be my friend. Work here. And stay codependent on me. And then they never want you to heal and love and believe in yourself and be more independent, because they don't plan to do that. And sometimes we realize that some of the people in our life, they have a way of living life or viewing life. They want to keep repeating that pattern. And they the truth sets us free. They'd have to work through some of these issues within themselves also. And that takes work and effort. And, you'd have to look at some of those things you might not want to see the truth of. And so then they don't. And that's our free will. And they'll keep repeating a pattern. So, some people are still really up in their head. Shadowy Aquarius can be that, or they're really kind of more caught up in themselves and they kind of do want to be indulged in a relationship and they don't want to see the truth of it and they don't want to become independent of kind of being more about themselves and them being codependent, other people being codependent, kind of don't want to heal or be more balanced. And other people are just more caught up in the world and making their life more either about what they indulge in to feel better or, money or status or image or, whatever they think is living the dream life. And, with some people, we know that our dreams are different. What we think is just and fair is different. What we like to invest our time, energy, and effort into, what our long-term goals are is different. What motivates and inspires us is different. At the heart of the reading is the Seven of Cups in reverse. Okay. Well, again, the Seven of Cups comes after the Six of Cups. The Six of Cups can talk about repeating a pattern and then offering love to it so that we can move forward. And some people are like, no, I don't want to do that. So they reject that idea. I want to keep repeating an old pattern. I want to stay in the Six of Cups. I don't want to step out of my comfort zone. I don't want to become independent of my comfort zone. And the Seven of Cups is Scorpio energy, which can be that some people don't want to be in more deep, meaningful relationships because they'd have to kind of work through, again, all these things that kind of manipulate them and maybe even just get more balance within themselves and appreciate themselves and love themselves to be able to be in a more deep, meaningful relationship. And some people choose, they don't look at life from a higher perspective, maybe, lack hope and faith and belief in themselves or in others or in love, don't really want to do deep, meaningful relationships. We're emotionally complex human beings. And, it can be confusing. And some people could have decided, I'm just gonna, they harness this energy in a more worldly way or shadowy. No, we've been given, Virgo kind of talks about that. We've been given these unique gifts, is what the Pentacles can talk about. We have our creative, inspired, hopeful, believing, loving nature. We have our mind. Well, our mind can wreak havoc on us. We could become a slave to our mind and our fear and our insecurities. We could become overwhelmed by our emotions. We could become overwhelmed by our lust or our greed or things we go indulge in to make us feel better. And it's to learn to work with those things so that those things don't manipulate us to such a degree. But we'd have to put in work and effort to work with those things. I need to work through my emotions. I need to work through my thoughts. I need to kind of see the truth of how my immature nature, my passionate nature, my worldly nature, my materialistic nature, my self-indulgent nature, how all those things can kind of drive my life off into the ditch. And if I don't want those things to, I want to master these gifts I've been given, that make me not just an animal or keep staying really immature and self-indulgent and let the world manipulate me, let other people be able to use all those things to manipulate me. I want justice. I want to feel more balanced within myself. I need to get inspired to put in this work and effort to, in High Vibe Scorpio, get to know myself. high vibe Scorpio is like exploring the mysteries of life emotionally. Well, we're an emotionally complex human being. We would have to get to know ourselves. And some people could say, no, I'm going to live more from my mind than my heart, make my life be more motivated and inspired just by me or the world, living more from my mind than my heart, my lust, my greed, the world, status, ego, image. Some people, they want to completely stay disconnected from their emotional nature. And they have the free will to do that. And some people will. It's too confusing. I gave up that dream. I think this is good. I'm going to live my life like this. And you could have known some people who are like that you kind of thought were a little superficial and shallow, and they do use their emotions and their sexuality and their money or their resources or their words or their charm or their education or whatever it is that they got to try to create the illusion that they're more balanced than they really are, but some of them are much more emotionally disconnected and just use their emotions more manipulatively as they need them. And so some of those people gave up that dream. Okay? So that's kind of the energy we're working with here. Let's go see what's going on in Taurus energy. We have the Two of Swords, which, like the Four of Swords, is Libra energy. We have this dualistic nature in the Two of Swords. What's my truth? Am I more motivated and inspired by truth and love? We go on this journey of life to come in contact with all these different people, jobs, friendships, and relationships to help us get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. Do we believe in ourselves? Do we want to work through our fears and our insecurities and our emotional nature to feel more stable and grounded within ourselves, or do we let go of that? There's some people right now that are stuck, is what the Two of Swords can talk about. They maybe didn't put in this work and effort and haven't picked a path yet. And while some people haven't picked a path in like their dualistic nature of what is my truth, kind of go back and forth, other people have picked a path. And there's people in the world like, yep, I have realized since I was however old, even though I could have these issues I needed to deal with and I could have indulged poor behavior in myself and others and had a lot of lessons learned, I am motivated and inspired more by love. And other people in the world, no, I picked my path and I don't want to do love. And I am more kind of about me or these things of the world. And then there's the people in the world that can't decide, which is hopefully you'd think people would decide. You think you just know that, but I guess everybody's on their own journey. And then we have the Magician, and we have the Temperance. So the Magician is Gemini, which is about our dualistic nature, and Virgo energy. So, some people are still going on this journey to try to figure out what their truth is. And so they might work with people who are more motivated and inspired by love. And, in the Temperance card, it can be trying to maintain balance within themselves to figure out if this is their truth or that it's not. They get relationships with people who are more about the world and trying to balance out their emotions and maintain balance about, is this my truth? Isn't this my truth? And like I say, some other people they already know what their truth is. The high vibe people are listening to their intuition, and they are inspired to work with the unique gifts that they've been given, and one of those is their intuition. Because when they didn't do that before, when they were learning these lessons in life, things probably didn't turn out the way they wanted. And part of that is because in our more worldly nature, pride comes before the fall. And we thought we were so smart. And we wanted to manifest these things that sometimes we didn't listen to our intuition. And we made our life more about the world. And our more high vibe nature was like, well, we'll wait. They got to go on this journey to learn these lessons. And Hopefully, as they go through them and it maybe doesn't work out the way they thought, then maybe they'll see the truth and they'll do some of this inner work, and then they will start. It's kind of, again, a gift that we've been given. We are part of the animal kingdom, and all the other animals have their own unique things, but we have free will. We can choose not to listen to our intuition. Oh, no, no, no. I'm sure I got a handle on this. Even if we get in relationships, because we might, in the Two of Swords, can talk about why and stay in denial of the truth. And we can get in these more mismatched relationships. But because we're on this journey to learn lessons in life, and we could be attracted to them, we want to be in friendship and relationship, we need a job. Sometimes we didn't listen to our intuition when we got into those situations. Then, and that's what these cards in the middle can talk about too, is that we can, we think the way we think. We have our truth, and in our Gemini nature and our ideas of what we think is just and fair, and in our Taurus nature, we have our viewpoints on life and relationships, and of course we think that makes logical, practical sense, and we're smart. And of course other people must think like that. you know But those people think the way they think, and they, of course, think the way they think makes just and fair and practical sense. But there's could be, maybe they like to stay in denial, that they like to manipulate people to try to get people to do what they want. But they could think everybody's doing that. We're just equally trying to manipulate each other. Everybody could be more unstable, unbalanced, and everybody is just trying to create an illusion that they're more balanced than they really are. And everybody could kind of want to stay in denial that maybe if they had an opportunity to be more immature for some reason, just to be more about themselves, maybe they would do it. You know, you either learn these lessons to temper your more immature egoic nature, and in high vibe Taurus, I don't want to conduct myself in certain ways because I want, in high vibe Leo, to feel proud of myself. But other people could think, oh, if anybody had this opportunity or whatever, they would do it, so I'm going to do it. Or whatever. And they just don't realize that not everybody is willing to indulge being manipulated by their more immature nature. And some people can really, a shadowy Sagittarius in temperance energy could be people who really have maybe a harder time, and anybody can harness that, where of kind of maintaining more balance within themselves, or loving and believing in themselves. And let's see what this card is. The High Priestess, in reverse, don't really listen to their intuition, or really don't know how to love themselves. And then they could look to other things to indulge in to make them feel loved or feel better. So the High Priestess is Pisces and Cancer energy, two emotional water signs, about kind of listening to your intuition and having more hope and faith and belief in yourself. Maybe in with that, and Aquarius, having more hope and faith and belief in yourself and others and in love. And the truth can be that some people are very unstable emotionally. This is Pisces and Cancer, and this is Scorpio. That's the three water signs. And then we have the Eight of Swords, which is Gemini energy of our dualistic nature, but it can also talk about that people really get caught up in their head about things. Again, their fear, their insecurities, how people view them, something. And from the Eight of Swords then down to the Seven of Swords is letting go of one sword of truth. And And then it can be where, again, it just clouds your judgment so much. Because, again, some people aren't emotionally connected in with themselves to even, and again, so they could get all more caught up in their head, maybe trying to be too practical and logical. And shadowy Taurus can be stubborn and kind of rigid, and maybe could have a hard time relating to other people who are more connected in with their emotions, who aren't living more from their mind than their heart, who are more balanced within themselves, who seem to be more stable and grounded within themselves, or more comfortable in their own skin, or more just and fair and loving and encouraging. And it can be hard for people if they think everyone is kind of like putting on a show. That can be shadowy energy. I have an idea. I will just create the illusion. I'm this more just and fair and stable and grounded person. Isn't that what everyone is doing? Isn't everybody just creating this illusion? And they might not realize in the Two of Swords, which can talk about not seeing the truth, not wanting to see the truth, that other people really were kind of both the Temperance card and the Queen of Pentacles and Fire sign energy are about being inspired. That other people in their free will nature were inspired to be motivated and inspired to get out of their more immature, self-indulgent, being more about themselves, living more from their mind than their heart, being manipulated by their fear, their insecurity, or everyone else in the world. And they did this work within themselves. And that can be what they don't understand. That the other people just didn't keep in shadow. The high priestess can be like hiding. Other people didn't just hide the fact that they were emotionally confused and up in their head. They didn't decide, I don't want to do that, kind of more from pride and ego, so I'm going to put it behind me. Like, that's it. I have this idea. I'm just going to go out more in my ego nature of self. I'm not going to deal with those things. I don't have to deal with those things. I'm going to go just present myself like I'm a more just, fair, stable, grounded, mature person like everybody else in the world. And then they try to go do that. And they could be working with other people, though, who are more balanced. The Temperance card, like Libra, can be that those people really did learn these lessons. They are more balanced within themselves. They are not creating an illusion. They are not more immature, prideful, stubborn, codependent, whatever. They really did do this work within themselves. They are not hiding. They are not creating an illusion. They are not more emotionally confused, where the other people could be quite emotionally overwhelmed or confused or immature. The other people aren't all up in their head like some of these other people could be all up in their head. It isn't all like shadowy being up in your head from your ego nature. Can be people who are just living more from their mind than their heart as like a strategy. You should do this, you should act like this, don't do this, don't act like that. Um, Try to present this illusion about who you are. And they never deal with some of these things. And it is like a magician tries to create an illusion. And they try to move forward with other people who are more tempered, more balanced, more mature. And they try to move forward with them hiding all these things that they don't deal with. And the other people are trying to move the relationship forward, maybe to be, being maybe loving and encouraging to those people to move forward with them, to maybe bring justice to a situation, to maybe move the relationship forward. The Leo energy is also represented by the sun to have this new beginning. And the Nine of Pentacles can become independent of an old phase. Like we did the work to get to know each other. Now, or just like I started a job, now it's to go to the next phase. Well, for some people, it's like, oh shit, I'm like faking this level. Uh, I am totally maybe emotionally overwhelmed and all up in my head and really trying to create an illusion that I'm more stable and balanced than I am. And now you want to move forward even differently. I mean, it would be like someone who took a job that they really weren't qualified for to begin with, and they're trying to do the best they can to manage in that job, and then the people are like, okay, well, it seems like you have a general handle on it, let's go to this stuff and you could start learning this. And they're like, oh my god, like you don't know that I'm overwhelmed, you know. For other people, the way this could kind of be interpreted is that some people invested in something, whether it was a job, a friendship, or relationship, but they were hiding that isn't aligned with their truth. That isn't what they love. That isn't really how they want to live their life, or the type of career field, or people they want to hang out with, or things like that, right? But they could really be in a mental prison just about living their more authentic life, or even uh, being single. And so they could be much more codependent to be in relationships with people, which all of us can enjoy being in friendships and relationships with people. But some people can kind of get in romantic relationships just to, you could enjoy your life. You could invest your time, energy, and effort into other things and family, and not go get in a romantic relationship just to try to make yourself feel more balanced and stable. Could it be easier for some people to find people that they get in a romantic relationship with, depending on where you live, or people in your environment, than to find friends to hang out with? Maybe, but you still don't have to get in a relationship with people who are not really people that you even could think are people you would want to keep moving forward with. You can see how that could be in shadowy energy a little selfish, right? Not to say that everybody at different times could have done that in their life, but some people do that all their life. And it's just to, but they could not want to see the truth of it. And then they could get in relationships more to try to help them feel more stable and balanced within themselves. For some, they really don't like being single because they could really think that just being in a relationship says something about their worth and value. Other people, it's like, I don't think me being in a relationship or not being in a relationship says anything about my worth and value. I think it means I haven't met someone who's the right person for me to get in a relationship with. And if my intuition tells me that the people around me are not the right people for me to get in a relationship with, then I am going to enjoy my life with friends and family, and maybe my career or schooling or whatever, and hobbies and interests, and enjoy my life. I want to be free or single in case someone does come along who is the right person. And for some of the people who maybe didn't listen to their intuition, didn't want to be single, kind of created an illusion and got themselves involved in some relationships with people that really aren't people who are aligned with their truth, well, then they could really be up in their head about ending it to become single from it, because they got in a relationship for these other reasons. And sadly, there's some people who kind of shadowy fire sign energy is, it is all just kind of indulging themselves in relationships and indulge themselves in it until the people want them to maybe take it to the next level. And then it's like, yeah, no, okay, that's over. I need to go find someone else who maybe doesn't know the truth of who I am, that I can manipulate, try to present myself as this just and fair person, that their dreams will come into reality with me. Little do they know, I'm hiding. I'm not going to do a deep, meaningful relationship. This is not based on truth and love. Uh, their dream isn't going to come into reality with me. I'm just willing to move forward, male or female, in a relationship with them because it looks like it helps create this impression, like in the world, that I think is just and fair, and I have someone to indulge in while I haven't maybe found someone that I really want to be in a relationship with, or getting in a relationship with someone else just to try to manipulate someone else, or getting in a relationship with someone else because I did act kind of in these shadowy ways and other people moved on, but I want to confuse people and manipulate people. So I'm going to move forward with these people and get in some new relationship, um, to try to create this illusion that maybe I'm not more superficial or shallow or fearful or insecure, and I'll bossy or controlling or whatever, and I'll create this illusion and try to maintain balance within myself until I feel like I have successfully created that illusion that I've healed, I've grown, I've matured, and then I'll get out of it. And then, you know, go do whatever they want to go do. So, a lot of different people in the world. So, we got to listen to our intuition. There are people in the world that are very much just about themselves indulging in relationships. So, to listen to our intuition, um, in the Magician, which is Gemini and Virgo, and Gemini is about love and manifesting, Virgo can talk about putting in work and effort. Go meet people in the world. You could be in a relationship, you could be in a marriage, but in your neighborhood, in your workplace, we can always get to know people, but stay balanced within yourself is what the Temperance card is. Don't, you know, get to know people, work together with them in a just and fair way. High vibe Taurus, treat them the way you would like to be treated. And if your intuition kind of tells you that some people aren't very emotionally connected, or don't want to just get to know people more, or could be more superficial and shallow, well, then you know that. So people who harness those energies in a more shadowy way, it's like, thank you for showing me the truth of who you are. Now I know that. If you meet some other people who um, do seem to get really up in their head, and I don't know, it kind of really seems to cloud their judgment, and or try to manipulate people or control people, or people over here in shadowy that you could think are more full of themselves or whatever. Just, we can get to know people, and we don't have to tell everybody, and initially our judgments can be wrong. We can judge a book by its cover. But as we keep getting to kind of know people, um, I think high vibe people are coming across as people who aren't kind of trying to hide the truth of who they are. They are more, as people kind of get to know them. It doesn't mean you have to be ooey gooey with everyone, but people can see that you're inspired. You maintain balance within yourself. You are high balance would be, can I put work and effort together with people in these different environments that I'm in, and also be emotionally connected in with them, and I'm not being more superficial and shallow. I am wanting to get to know them. I am wanting to be in relationship with them, that I can, be kind of loving and encouraging to people. And, I'm not going to get up in my head about people who aren't working together with me in that way. I just see the truth, accept the truth of where people are at. I'm going to focus more of my attention on the people as I go through this, of who are the people who my intuition tells me are more balanced, more inspired, more authentic, more have learned some of the same lessons I've learned, and who are the people who haven't. And I can still work with them, but some people you work with less and they stay more in the friend zone, or try not to work with them if you don't have to, in whatever, like some people in your neighborhood you could purposely go over to go visit with them, or at a social function, and other people's like, unless they come over here to want to talk to me, I'm good. Um, looking to find people that you think you can have this more just and fair and balanced relationship. And just like you're doing that with people, other people are doing that. And, there's always going to be more, kind of people more high vibe than you, that are maybe more bold, more brave, more balanced, more, and they got their things that they like doing. And, you got to decide, really that's not, you go, but yeah, we're all kind of looking for our own group and fit of people that seems to be aligned with our truth. Um, but there's always going to be shadowy people that, because something didn't work out the way they wanted with someone else, they were trying to be immature or bossy and controlling, and they might not want to see the truth of it. So then they think, oh, I'll just go try to be the next person to indulge in this person's life. I think that's just and fair. I'll try shadowy Leo, just like shadowy energy in general. I'll just try to manipulate that person. And some of those people might think, but some of those people don't know that you've already dealt with some shadowy people in your life. And that you've learned these lessons in life. And you're not in denial of the truth anymore. You have definitely seen that and accepted the truth that in a world of duality, not everybody is motivated by love, or to be just and fair, or to be inspired by love, or be authentic. That some people just create the illusion of being that, and that some people are very imbalanced, and some people can be very bossy or controlling and stubborn and prideful. It could be more trying to tempt you in your worldly nature, using their charm, their looks, their words, or whatever. And I think you'll just be willing to get to know people. And if there is some people that you'd think, hey, maybe I would like to get to know you more. You know, if it doesn't seem to be making progress, again, it's like, hey, maybe someday, but apparently not right now. Or if other people are in relationships with other people, okay. It's accepting the truth. If people are shadowy, I accept the truth of it. If you're in a relationship with someone else, I accept the truth of it. If I think you're trying to manipulate me, if I think you're being full of yourself, if you don't want to move a relationship forward, if you want to keep staying single, blah, 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 blah. I just accept the truth of it, so that I can be free to go invest in people who are more aligned and on the same page as me. And some people could be listening to their intuition about who are those people. Is it the people I'm currently in friendship and relationship with? Or do I need to quit? The world card can stop a cycle. I'm not going to keep moving forward in that job, friendship, or relationship. I'm going to let them go and do life the way they want. And I might take some time to listen to my intuition and do some of this inner work within myself to really think about, what is my truth? What would make me happy? What do I think is just and fair? And again, there could have been some things we could have thought some people were lovely. But I don't know. It just, maybe it seemed to have all these things of the world that we think are just and fair, but maybe the emotional connection wasn't there. And, you know, so at any given time, people could do that. But to see the truth at any given moment in time, people are investing their time, energy, and effort into the things that are aligned with their truth. And to accept the truth of it. And if some people we would like to have invest in us and in high vibe, you probably gotten out of your ego, communicated with people your truth. And if that's not, and some people you're just still trying to get to know, but you accept the truth of it and you love and believe in yourself to close out that cycle to go get the justice you deserve. If you have a dream you want to bring into reality, you see the truth that your dream can't come into reality with some people if they're not speaking their truth, if they're not investing in you. Okay. Apparently, your truth or your dream is different. So, I'm going to be inspired to love and believe in myself, to work with the people in my life who do work together with me in a more just and fair way, and probably distance myself from some people that could want to move forward with me, but I don't really think they're just or fair or authentic. I could feel they're immature or manipulative, seem to want to stay in denial that they might have some growing and maturing to do. And I'm going to wish them peace and I'm going to move on. What's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Taurus energy that they might not see coming up? The Justice card, the World, the High Priestess, the Magician, and the Karma or the Judgment card. And the reason that came up is because of the Devil, which is a shadow nature. But the Devil card looks just like the Lover's card, except that instead of an angel there, like truth and love and being authentic and loving and encouraging, there's a devil there. So can people have love for each other? Yes, but there's something about it that could have gotten to be where the only reason you keep staying there is more out of fear or insecurity or codependency of facing your fears to keep loving and believing in yourself, kind of growing yourself to your full potential. And other people in your life might be happy, maybe with the Justice card in the World. And the Devil card is Capricorn energy, about what we view as victorious and successful. Some people, they're still really caught up by the world or things they indulge in or themselves. And that's how they view life in their Taurus philosophy and their Gemini philosophy, their Virgo. That is their truth. It's more about making their life about these things of the world. And people should want to stay in friendship and relationship with them because it has these things of the world. It looks just and fair. They think they're living the dream, or they've got money or status or image. But you could have realized in the High Priestess that that's what people do use to try to manipulate people. And it's like, have you made the judgment to quit being manipulated by your more shadowy nature to really get more balance within yourself, between your mind and your heart, to work through some of your fears and insecurities, to invest and manifest more from truth and love? We all can put in work and effort to have stability and security in our life, but do I love this job? Do I like these people? Do these people like me? Am I in this relationship because of love or for these other reasons? And the high vibe people aren't willing to stay in a relationship just for the illusion. Or you can't keep staying in a job. I mean, we might all have to do what we got to do for a while, but, people don't want to stay in jobs where people seem to be, it's not moving forward the way we thought. And That's what shadowy people can do, and they think that's just and fair. And sometimes shadowy people think, well, I'm not really motivated and inspired by love, or I'm not just and fair, or I'm immature, or I'm bossy and controlling, or more about the ego and the image. You're not. You should let me manipulate you. We should work together. But then they get someone who isn't more like them to be in a relationship with them, but you get someone like them to be in a relationship with. It's like, no, I want to be in a relationship with someone who's more like me. you know? Someone who decided it was just and fair to put an end to letting their fearful nature, their immature nature, their shadowy nature, put an end to hiding that they try to manipulate people in a relationship to get them to do what they want, and hold themselves accountable in high vibe Taurus to really walk the talk. And that you're supposed to treat people the way you like to be treated. And if it's a romantic relationship, it should be because of love. And you're closing out a cycle with people who you feel that's not their truth. Closing out a cycle with the devil. And listening to your intuition to face your fears to go get the justice you do deserve. And listening to your intuition, believing in yourself, maintaining balance within yourself, offering yourself everything you wish other people would have given you, to no longer willing to hide from being in a more deep, meaningful relationship, no longer being up in your head about it. Everybody has their truth, and for a long time, we can all repeat certain patterns, and we all kind of want to stay in our comfort zone, and just learning to believe in ourselves and get more balance within ourselves and love ourselves. That can all take time. And for a long time, we were imbalanced and we were more manipulated by the world, and we could have been more codependent, and we were looking and repeating old patterns. And eventually we do that enough. It's like, I deserve I deserve to be in more, to believe in myself, love myself, believe I do deserve to quit repeating this pattern and be in more just and fair and authentic and loving relationships. And I think as you do that and moving forward, maintaining this balance within yourself, and people know that you've called judgment on shadowy energy where you're not repeating poor past patterns and you're not getting in relationships with people who are. That can also make you very hmm, attractive to people, both kinds of people. The people who want to be in a relationship with people who are like that, more stable, more balanced, more authentic, more loving. But it can also draw in shadowy people too. It's kind of like the devil trying to stop someone from getting the justice they deserve. New levels, new devils. So keep listening to your intuition, keep loving and believing in yourself. See the truth about different people in your life. Keep moving forward as some people keep showing you they're more immature or shadowy or manipulative, or just that they're not wanting to work with you in this way, and they could be lovely people. I accept the truth of it. I'm moving on. You're basically not going to stay in shadowy energy, which can be staying in your ego about it. I accept the truth. I'm moving on. And with the judgment card and the world card, like you've completed a cycle. We go through these cycles in life to learn these. It can be a lot of lessons, but until you complete all that you're meant to learn at that phase of life, because you could repeat a phase of life, but you're learning different things in those phases of life, and then you could complete a big cycle in your life. And then you move forward in life differently, and you become independent of staying in denial of some things and people that used to manipulate you. And it could have just been manipulating your loving nature. People are supposed to treat you the way you want to be treated. They're either motivated to be just and fair or they're not. They're either inspired to become independent of their more shadowy ways of being or they keep doing them. And we accept the truth of it. And that's not my truth. I wish you peace to go do that with whoever you want to go do it with. But I'm not doing that anymore. It has to be just and fair, and people have to learn these lessons, or, you're kind of in the friend zone. And I'm moving on and keeping my distance from you. And the devil can also mean up here that there's been some people that even had their own fear of listening to their intuition. But high vibe energy is being like a good leader in the world, just by example. And it could help other people work through, well, why do I do this and why don't I do that? And they seem to be doing that. Why don't I do that? And it could make them do some of this work within themselves to work through things that manipulate them, get them more balanced, listen to their intuition, to love and believe in themselves. And then those people become free of things that used to manipulate them. And then, people have to communicate their truth and be authentic. And as you're moving forward, you are communicating your truth and being authentic. And as you're moving forward, you could have communicated your truth to different people. And then they have their free will to decide what their truth is, what they want to manifest. And some of the people are on the same page, some of them aren't. Irregardless, you get out of your ego about it and you keep moving forward. What's coming up for some of the people who might harness a more shadowy Taurus energy that they don't see coming? The Knight of Cups. Why? Because of the Ace of Pentacles. The shadowy people keep being more emotionally invested either in themselves or these things they want to indulge in or the world. That is what more drives and motivates them. It's more about creating this illusion about how wonderful maybe their life is, or indulging themselves in relationships. And they could think people should want to be in a relationship with them because maybe they look like they have justice in the world, or they're attractive, or they're charming, or they've got money, and they think everybody should want to be in a relationship with them. And people can, buy into the illusion. And other people have lessons to learn from people like this. But the only thing is, shadowy Knight of Cups can be people who are just creating an illusion. That's what they decide to invest in. I'm going to create an illusion about who I am. And some people, it's like willing to basically sell their soul for things of the world. Well, how much do you got? How much are you willing to indulge me? How much are you willing to make it about me? How much money, status, power, ego, image, male or female, can do this? Because what really ultimately drives and motivates them is it either being more about them in some way, indulged, or, because love isn't that important. But I like it to look like love. I like it to quack like love. And that's what I do. And what they don't get is they could have people in their life right now that have been trying to work with them. But unlike these people, if they're the people that are more high vibrational, aren't as willing to stay in a job, friendship, or relationship more for the status, the ego, or the image, or even if someone's like indulging them. I don't think high vibe people would even want to be indulged. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? That's weird. That makes me feel uncomfortable. No, don't do that. But and then some people, high vibe people also can be attractive and charming and bright and smart and all these things. They just don't think that they don't try to use those things to try to manipulate other people. Is it a perk? Does it work out to get people to want to be in friendship or relationship with them? Yes. But the high vibe people know that the most valuable thing they have to offer people is that they're a just and fair and loving and stable and grounded and authentic person. And so when some of the shadowy people try to get in a more mismatched relationship with people who are more high vibe, eventually the high vibe people kind of see through the illusion and then they move on. And they did this work to work through, because we can all be tempted in our worldly nature. And Taurus is fixed sign energy again. When we put work and effort into something, we would like those things to work out the way we wanted them to work out. We can have a hard time letting go of it, and emotionally and in our head, it's really confusing because we want it to work, but it doesn't seem to be working. There's a lot of things we like about it, but it doesn't maybe seem to be a more deep, meaningful relationship. There's a lot of things that can seem like we like about it and just and fair in a lot of ways, but people are either more authentically wanting to be in a relationship with you because they authentically love you, or it's just kind of more creating the illusion of love. And then the relationship can't keep growing just like we kind of keep growing and maturing ourselves. The relationship doesn't really like grow and mature in itself because the other people aren't really doing love. They're kind of decided to operate from their more self-protected, defensive, egoic nature. And it's just working together with people trying, again, it's like the difference between having employees who are authentically inspired within themselves to put in work and effort and the people who get along fine, but they're not really inspired within themselves. And it's that kind of difference. And like, I want to be in relationships with people who are authentically inspired to want to be in the relationship because of love, not to be in it, or the status, or the ego, or the image, or the indulgence of it. If that's your truth, you can go do that with someone else. And other people work through their ego, work through their fear, work through their past pain and heartbreak, work through being in these kind of relationships to become independent of it and work through all of it to heal and go get the justice they deserve. And the more worldly, shadowy people keep being manipulated by their more shadow nature, not wanting to see the truth. And again, they could just be manipulated by their more immature nature. And if they have these things in the world that they know they could use, male or female, to manipulate people, they could always be surprised when they see people who could use those things to manipulate people, that they aren't doing that. Why why are you treating people in a just and fair way? Why are you doing love? You get hurt doing love. You could just be an immature person and have all sorts of people indulging you. Well, some people don't want to be in shadow, harnessing these energies in a shadowy way of emotionally disconnected relationships, and other people like emotionally disconnected relationships. Other people want deep, meaningful relationships, and they're like, no way, man, I don't want a deep, meaningful relationship. It's like, well, different strokes for different folks. And they could be surprised that other people who could, and for some people, some people got out of relationships with people because they could know they would be that type of person, or just get caught up in their head and their fear and think, oh, because this person looks this way or whatever, um, I think they would use that to manipulate people, and they're probably just trying to manipulate me, and they'd maybe leave later because of these reasons. And those people didn't listen to their intuition, and they got all up in their head, and they had some high vibe people in their life that they could have had a dream come into reality with, but because they kind of didn't love and believe in themselves to maybe think that those people wanted to be in a relationship with them because they're looking for people that they love and that they think act with character and integrity and are just and fair, that Do you have to have the most money or the more status or the most attractive or whatever? I don't care. That's more of the superficial shit, you know? And some people didn't see the truth when they had it there. And probably I mean, some it can be fears and insecurities, and high vibe Taurus or shadowy Taurus can be not appreciating your worth and value and feeling good enough about within yourself, kind of lack mentality. So for some, it could be that. For other people, though, it could be because they know they would, and they maybe do. And some of those people, even if they were moving forward in a just and fair and loving relationship, because they're more manipulated by the world, they could have closed out a cycle of moving forward with people like that. And partly because they get more tempted in their more worldly nature because it's not just and fair. And it's kind of like them being tempted is a gift to the people that they were in relationship with to see those people aren't ready to move forward. They got some lessons to learn, but you're ready to move forward. So work through this, love yourself, and move on. And let those people go repeat an old pattern. So there you go, Taurus. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.